So, this is my first Saturday Scribble Stories. Those of you here that were here last week for Draw My Life had a good time, so I've now decided to do a little mini series where I will just every Saturday tell a different story from my life and see how it goes. So, this is the very first one, and the title, as you can see on the screen right here, is That One Time I Accidentally Made a Bomb, ... smiley face. So, let's go ahead and get all this off the screen. Perfect. So, this all started my senior year of high school, which was 2014. 2014. I'm a senior in high school. And like all seniors in high school, did a couple stupid things as a kid. This might be one of the dumbest things I did as a kid, and this is the time we accidentally made and set off a bomb. This night, I believe it was like a Friday night, me and some of the homies, we are hanging out at a house. So you got my buddy's house here. There's a garage right here. This is another side of the house. This is their garage. We got myself. We got another homie over here. Another homie over here. Another homie over here. There were, I think, 5 of us, maybe even 6. So we are all bored on a Friday night. And this buddy, Thomas, he accidentally led the rest of us astray. So, he, in the middle of class, he is in, I believe, a chemistry class, and he finds out how to use dry ice inside of a water bottle. So, he is sitting in his little class right here. Here's his desk. We got the teacher up here. On here is a dry erase board, and his teacher has a pen. On the board, he's talking about how you can make dry ice. So that's the bottle. Over here is your cube of dry ice. And how if you put the dry ice into the bottle, and then you seal the bottle up, it'll pop. So, this teacher actually does this experiment in the classroom. So essentially what he does is he gets a little water bottle, basically middle of the classroom, get a nice, let's call it Aquafina, not sponsored. We got a little bit of water in it, and then a cube of dry ice goes into the bottle, and then the teacher, so this is on a table, then puts a trash can over the bottle. Essentially, when you put the dry ice in the bottle, the pressure keeps expanding because of the gases it is releasing during the reaction of the dry ice into the water, and eventually it'll just pop and explode. He does it inside the classroom. It pops underneath this trash can while, the fun little chemistry experiment shows how, things react. And Thomas comes back, tell all of us little homies, you got person 1, person 2's yoked. And Thomas says, I know what we're going to do today, like finishing verb. He tells us how his teacher made a quote-unquote bomb in the class. And so we're like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. And so we're thinking, this teacher did it in the classroom. Of course it's going to be safe. Like, the teacher showed him how to do it in class. Like, how bad can it be? And so us idiots, we think, okay, sick. Like, this is something we want to do as well. So my buddy lived on the top of a hill. And then you got a path that goes down here. This is like the road. And then it goes over here. So the road goes over here. And then on this side, there's a cul-de-sac. We got house. Another house over here. You know, your stereotypical cul-de-sac. Over at this house, so this house right here, best friend house. So, my buddy Thomas, his best friend Drew lived in this house right here. And so we think to ourselves, so we basically we take this thing, we're like, oh cool, little dry ice bomb, you know, we're thinking it's gonna be like a firecracker. Let's go ahead and we're gonna set one off in the middle of this cul-de-sac right here. This is detonation location. So this is all fine and dandy. We're like, all right, this is so great. You know, we're going to have this funny little prank. We know our buddy's home. We know he's just chilling in his house, probably playing Xbox, hanging out with his dog. And we're like, all right, we're going to have a fun little time Friday night. Maybe he's home. Turns out he wasn't even home. So ruins even the attempt we're going for. We missed the mark completely. Shane was here for this. So essentially, we are thinking to ourselves, oh, if they do all the data we know, because Thomas hasn't given us the full story. He's just said, hey, this is what we did in our classroom. All that we know is that they used a bottle and had dry ice. So we go get our dry ice. And you know how in class I said they use like a Dasani water bottle? So we go get a 3-liter bottle, which is like 4 times the size. This is so much bigger. But we didn't know. Thomas, okay, obviously we can't blame Thomas on this one. I just want to point out that a little more guidance would have been nice because he was the one in class. The other 5 of us didn't even know this experiment existed until he came home and told us about it. But he didn't left out specifics. There was no recipe for like if you're baking some brownies, it's like, oh, use this much milk and use this much chocolate. No, we had nothing like that. We just said dry ice, bottle, seal it, boom, loud noise. We're like, okay, sick, this will be fine. They did it in the classroom. There's no way this thing right here does any kind of damage in a cul-de-sac. We get to our cul-de-sac and we try a dry run first. This is run number 1 of trying to figure out how this works. We started out with just a small Arizona bottle, Arizona iced tea. We put one right here. Turns out this thing is so thick that Arizona iced teas, this one did not explode. We put dry ice in it first, and we sent my buddy Austin in as the bomb squad. We literally just wrapped him in shirts, wrapped his face. His little arms are sticking out like this. We wrapped this as well. We wrapped him in everything we had because this thing, we literally looked at this bottle for like 15 minutes. 15 minutes later, we're like, okay, maybe the bottle's too thick. Because, you know, those Arizona iced teas, they're thick bottles. So we're like, oh, maybe this one's too thick. We don't want to wait 5 hours. So we sent the bomb squad in, which in hindsight, dumb idea. But we don't know. We realized this is all we're thinking. We're thinking this experiment was done in a classroom. How bad can it be? That is our mentality of this entire thing. So we send in the bomb squad. He goes, deactivates the device. He cuts the red cord. This is Austin. Austin is a very nice, not the smartest in this sense, because he was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And all of us are like, look at this idiot. We just think at the worst, it's going to like hit him in the chest. We'll be fine. We send Austin in with his bomb squad attire, aka 47 jackets. He cuts the red wire, aka takes off the cap, and it is fine. He dumps out the dry ice. We go home, and that is when we grabbed our 2-liter bottle, because all we are thinking is we need a thinner plastic, but who cares how big the bottle is? So, try number 2. This is the road. This goes up here. This goes over here. There is a 3-liter bottle now in the middle of this cul-de-sac. Obviously, that is not drawn to size, nor does it look like a 3-liter bottle, but that was sitting in the middle of the cul-de-sac. We have the houses over here. And okay, this is the part where I literally should have thought about this once or twice. In hindsight, we were idiots. All this is stupid, but this is probably the dumbest part of the entire night. So, little nice lady walks out of this house with her dog. It's a border collie, beautiful dog. They walk out of their house and they walk straight up to this thing. They just walk right up to it. And this dog sniffs the bottle. All of us are over here. This right down here is actually up on a little hill. And so we're kind of like looking down into this. At this point in the night, Thomas, the only person that has any idea what is actually going to happen, is over here in his truck making out with his girlfriend. They're just chilling over here, parked on the side of the road, not even supervising. He's the one that knows what's happening. We got Thomas right here. We got girlfriend right here. Love. They're chilling over in this car over here. Why us 5 idiots are now watching this past. Okay, also, this is a pastor's wife. And so we're watching. We're like, okay, well, we've already been sitting here for a couple minutes. Nothing's really happening. Doesn't like anything's happening. Dog sniffs it. And thank the Lord, they continue walking. So then they walk all the way up. And they get to here. We got a lady. And we got a dog. So, they are no longer in the cul-de-sac. They have now retreated all the way up the hill, and this is also up to a hill. So now we are still sitting here watching this bomb. At the time, we did not know it's a bomb, but in hindsight, it was a bomb. Drew's house is still here. All the lights are off, you know. Very great cul-de-sac for like ding-dong ditching, an occasional teepee session. Very bad lighting. There's like maybe one street light over here, maybe a street light over here. We are literally behind a bunker. This is our bunker hill, and we're just watching this thing. We literally probably waited like 15 minutes of us just sitting here. Just sitting here doing absolutely nothing. And we start to walk away. Literally, as we are walking up the hill, we hear the loudest boom I have ever heard in my entire life. Instantly, every single one of these houses, lights turn on. A car alarm went off. Like, it was insane. So all these lights turn on at the exact same time as we're walking away, and we hear the loudest boom I've ever heard in my entire life. I kid you not. Like 3 minutes after we hear so we hear the explosion. We're like, oh my gosh, what just happened? It like shakes windows. Like it was insane. I've never heard a louder explosion in my entire life. Shane in this chat was there. He can confirm this is insanely loud. So we just run. We take off running, and now we are on top of this hill up here. You get the point. There's a bunch of us up there. We have the explosion in the middle of the cul-de-sac. And I kid you not, like maybe 3 minutes after this bomb goes off, we start hearing sirens in the distance. Like, no joke, cop sirens, they are coming for us. Like, woo, woo, woo. And we're like, what just happened? Like, we're domestic terrorists. That's all there is. So, we give it like a second. We're like, what do we do? Like, what happens? Because we are waiting. No joke, 3 minutes after we start hearing the sirens, like 2 minutes later, there were like 6 cop cars that pull up. 6. Okay, set the stage. We live in a small town in Rio Grande, California. Nothing happens. Like, there is zero, like, these cops have nothing going on at all. They have zero job requirements. Nothing bad happens. The worst thing that ever happens, sometimes you get like a bike stolen out of your garage. But these cops are just waiting for something. So the moment they hear a bomb go off, literally the entire police department shows up at this cul-de-sac. There is car here. Another one here. These are all cop cars. Unbeknown to us, until after we've already sprinted out of there and are now hiding up in these houses up here, our buddy stayed here in his truck. He was too busy getting it to realize that the entire police department was now at the scene of the crime. So he is sitting here and we can see down, like you can easily see down this hill, at my buddy just sitting in the car with his girlfriend as 6 cop cars roll up. And so we think, okay, we are noble friends. We're like, we can't let this guy take the fall for us. Like, he's a nice guy. He's gonna like be talking to the cops. He's gonna say, I don't know what happened. Well, hopefully we're hoping he covers for us like that. But this guy, he's a nice guy. We're like, we can't leave him out to dry. He's literally sitting at the scene of the crime in his truck. Like, just, he's got better things to do. Like, he's hanging out with this lady. And all of a sudden, the entire police department is around his truck. And so we think to ourselves, we can't let him take the fall for us. So 2 of us idiots, we're like, so there's 5 of us up here. 3 of them are 18. So we just tell them, my buddy and I are 17 at the time. Shane, actually, in chat. Him and I are 17 at the time. And we tell them, hey, you guys run. We're 17. Nothing can happen to us. Chat, if you think that at 17 years old, nothing can happen to you, that is the most naive comment ever made in my entire life. And to this day, I still regret that I thought that in my head at 17-year-old, nothing can happen to me. Thank you for the hydrate. Shane and I think, okay, at 17 years old, they can't do anything to us. Like, we're good kids, you know, like we're on student government at school. And so we tell our 18-year-old friends to just leave, run away, don't get caught. This isn't on you. You're going to go to prison. But they cannot touch us because we are immune at 17 years old, which is the dumbest thought process of all time. So Shane and I mosey on down the hill. And then now it is myself, Shane, Thomas, and the entire police department. They're all just surrounding us. And so we're like, okay, this is gonna be a fun little conversation. They're gonna say, oh, you guys, we're like, oh yeah, we like put some dry ice in a thing and we just put it in the cul-de-sac and wanted to like make our friend wake up. And we're like, oh yeah, this is no big deal. Like, what's the worst that can happen? So then the cop looks at us and says, so kids, do you guys understand the gravity of the situation, right? He goes, you do realize that dry ice bombs were used in the terrorist attack a couple years ago at LAX, correct? You guys are aware of that? And I kid you not, this is the expression of all my buddies' my faces as soon as he says that. We're literally just staring at him. So my buddies and I are just like, I'm sorry, a terrorist attack, sir? Like terrorism? Like an attack on the Los Angeles International Airport? Like that? Like, is that what you're telling me, sir? And he's like, so, you know, in all seriousness, like, we might have to take you guys to juvie for this. And I'm thinking, juvie? Juvie? Juvie. I'm about to get my ass locked up in juvie. I'm thinking the dumbest thing I ever thought in my entire life was at 17 years old, I am invincible and nothing can happen to me. Because real quick, reality hits you in the face and say, hey, idiot, at 17, you can still go to a place called juvenile hall. And so we're still, same expression, just standing here. And then the next thing the cop says is, meanwhile, at the time, you know, there's still sirens going off. There's still all 6 cop car cruisers. All the Dodge Challengers are still surrounding us as us 3 idiots are sitting on the curb. And they're just talking to us. Like, this is, very dumb thing you guys could be doing. Like, of course, normal things you're gonna talk to a couple kids. But I'm literally just envisioning myself like, this is it. Like, no more baseball this year. I'm gonna go to prison. I'm gonna have a record. I'm not gonna go to school. I can't be a nurse. Like, I'm like, my life's over because I made a dry ice bomb in the middle of a cul-de-sac. I kid you not, while we're sitting there, the cops start collecting shrapnel from the surrounding cul-de-sac. They pulled a piece of plastic out of the tree. This plastic, okay, literally, let me give you a picture. Part of this 3 liter is literally just like, just sticking in a tree. And he brings it to us. It's literally this big. It's like a Dorito that was just, it literally like instantly changed the shape of like the plastic. It was like literally turned into shrapnel. Like shrapnel. And it's sticking into trees. Like, no joke. They're like bringing us these pieces, like the damage we have done to this cul-de-sac. And I'm thinking to myself, this is it. Like, my parents are going to disown me. I'm not going to eat ever again. I'm too pretty to be in prison. I'm going to get absolutely taken advantage of. This is not for me. And so they're like, okay, we need to call your dad. And I'm thinking, all right, calling my dad is the least of my worries right now. Like, here's his number. I'm already talking about how I'm going to survive in prison. Like, sure, talk to my dad. You break the news for him. But then they're like, oh no, we need you to call your dad. So I'm like, oh great, I can talk to my dad. So I call my dad. I dial him up. No joke, my dad is in the middle of a worship set at their Bible study. My dad has a guitar. I want it to be brown because my dad's guitar is brown. This is my dad. He's in the middle of singing a worship song. And he picks up the second time, so he's like, okay, Mitch, he ignores me the first time. I'm like, great, Dad, thank you for the one time I'm about to go to prison, you're going to ignore my phone call. It's like, I know for the rest of my life, when I get one phone call, I'm not calling my dad because he's going to send me straight to voicemail. I'm calling my mom. And so I'm like, great, and I got to call this guy again. So I call my dad again. He picks up in the middle of a song. He's still like trying to sing, but apparently like was still wanting to pick up the phone. He's like, okay, my son doesn't call twice. He knows I'm in Bible study. Mid-song, I'm like, hey, Dad, so I set off a bomb and I might go to prison. And my dad, like, instantly, obviously, like, he cuts to reality. He's like, I'm sorry, what, son? I was like, yeah, like, I set off a bomb and I might go to prison. The cops here need to talk to you. So my dad is like, oh, great, like, and then the guy's always like, hey, this is so-and-so with the Rio Grande Police Department. And, like, when you hear that, like, talking about your kid, my dad's like, so many things going through my dad's mind. He's like, my son's gonna die. Like, my son's getting arrested. Like, all these things going through my dad's head. And so, finally, shows up after like 15 minutes of me still sitting on a curb, still getting just berated by these cops for how much of an idiot we are. I was like, I know we're an idiot, sir. Like, I understand the situation at this point. I know it is dumb to set off a bomb in a cul-de-sac. I learned my lesson. You don't need to keep telling me that for 45 minutes. So, my dad finally shows up, and he works his magic. We got Dad here. We got cop here. We got me on a little curb. And my dad's just talking. He's like, these kids are on leadership. They're captain of the baseball team. My son's the student class president. Like, just really, milking us up like they never do anything like this. My other buddy's dad shows up. He's not talking to us well. They're like talking us up. And meanwhile, myself, Thomas, and Shane are just sitting our little butts down on this curb while these big boys talk about how what they're going to do with our fate. They're deciding, hey, do we go to prison or not? So finally, the cops eventually decide to let us go. They give me the golden word. They say, we're going to let you guys off with a warning, which if I knew that you could commit domestic terrorism and be let off with a warning, that's very terrifying for my safety as an American citizen. But to each their own. My dad has a way of words, let me tell you that much. That I know. My dad can get whatever he wants as long as he asks. Hey, little background. My dad, he literally was able to return a drink that he drank 3/4 of at Disneyland because he didn't like the aftertaste. So my dad literally walks up and he's like, yeah, the more I drink it, like the worse this tastes. And so he returns a bottle of drink after he drank 3/4 of it to a person at Disneyland. He's like, I'm like, Dad, what did you just do? He's like, worst that can happen is you ask. Like, that's my dad's motto in life, is the worst that can happen is they say no. And so he is just a whiz with the words. So he, works his magic, and he makes it so that we are no longer going to prison. We are just going back home into the den of angry parents. Which at that point, I think they were all just excited that we weren't going to prison and that we didn't die to a bomb. So I think at the end of the day, my parents were less mad than they should have been. Hey, parenting 101. This was the best punishment my parents could have ever given us, ever. It was humiliating. My parents made us go to every single house. This is Thomas and myself. With a plate of cookies. There's our plate. We got the cookies. Every single house. We go here. Hey, ma'am, I'm sorry for waking you up. I know it was like, 10 at night. And, who goes to bed at 10 at night? Because that's when you're going wild on a Friday night. But I understand you have a different sleep schedule. I apologize. Hey, ma'am, I'm sorry for almost setting off a bomb in your face. I know I almost killed you and your dog. I apologize. Here's some cookies. Sorry about that. Really weren't thinking twice. We're really going to try to reflect on our actions. Apologize. Again, setting off a bomb almost in the face of you and your dog. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Yeah, sorry for waking you up. Hey, Drew, pissed you weren't home because this whole thing was so that we could wake you up, but you weren't even home. So take these cookies, you idiot. And then, hey, sorry for setting off a bomb in your front yard. Apologize. Won't do it again. And so we had to go to every single house and apologize. We already feel bad that we set off a bomb in their front yard. And then we had to go to every single house and acknowledge that we set off a bomb in their front yard and give them all cookies. So this literally, my parents are geniuses. There was no, they didn't take away anything from me. They didn't ground me. They didn't take away my car. They made me go to every single person and acknowledge the fact that I was an idiot and I had to give them cookies. Not a more humbling experience in my entire life. Especially when it's something like, hey, sorry for almost setting off a bomb in your face. That was the worst. But in hindsight, genius. To this day, that teacher is now no longer allowed to do the dry ice experiment in his classroom. Because of the roundabout way that it got to us, and us idiot seniors in high school took it to the next level. Even though it's very safe the way he did it, we didn't realize that. We turned it into domestic terrorism. So, moral of the story, people, is if you are dealing with anything that could potentially turn into a bomb, do your research before you accidentally make a bomb and set it off in your friend's front yard. If you learn anything from tonight's stream, anything from tonight's Saturday Scribble Stories, please double check to make sure you're not going to actually build a bomb. Because you can go to prison. The more you know. And if you're going to set off a bomb, because I understand everyone likes a big explosion as much as the next guy, it's a good adrenaline hit, please do it in the middle of a field and not in a cul-de-sac.